There's two toy rooms here. This is, go ahead. This is the bigger of the two. And it's just got a bunch of collectibles and Ford memorabilia, pictures of the hierarchy of Ford Motor Company at the time. Obviously Henry's in the center and Bo, just his buddies on to the right as we look at him, and the fellow who saved TWA and also Ford. I forget what his name is now, but those were the guys. These were bag phones, the original phones that went on in the cars. You just set them on the transmission mount thing there in the center between the seats.
So all these toys are actually Ford.
Yeah, all the toys are Ford, Econoline vans and pickup trucks. And what you're looking at there and the tune-up kits, the interesting thing about those, Ford had the Autolite, obviously, in the beginning of our tour. We talked about Autolite and going to Motorcraft. Well, they had to go to the Motorcraft, and what they did was they put the Autolite spark plugs in the Motorcraft tune-up kits, and that way they were able to sell off all their inventory of Autolite plugs. So when you saw a Motorcraft tune-up kit, it did have Autolite spark plugs inside of it.
There's a container that says Rotunda.
Yeah, the Rotunda was a brand name that came along, and Ford had it. But that particular piece there is a 5-quart can. It's not a gallon can. It's a 5-quart can of motor oil, 6,000 mile motor oil. That's Henry on the bottom, the father, and then Henry the second at the top. It's just stuff that I've collected over the years. The interesting thing about it over here is this automatic transmission repair parts. And what's interesting about that is all the way across the bottom of that mat, which is a fender cover, it has the MC, which is where they got the Motorcraft when they had to go from Autolite to Motorcraft. And they already owned the rights to the name Motorcraft, so that's where the original Motorcraft came from, was from their transmission parts that they used to sell as Ford parts. This picture is Henry, original Henry on the right, and Etzel, the son, on the left, but then the three boys, Henry and Bill and Etzel, are the three fellows there in the picture. Speaking of the Rotunda name, there's a picture of the Rotunda in Dearborn that was the World's Fair deal out of Chicago. I think what they did was they set it up in Chicago, then after the fair they brought it to Dearborn and built it up there. Then they had like someone said, there's 100 yards of road that goes around there from all the different countries that Ford manufactured parts, which is the plant up in the background there, and that's why it was called the American Road. Then it burnt down in, I think, like 50 or 45 or I don't know what, but it went up in smoke, and that was the end of the Rotunda. That's about it for here. You want to go to the other room and take a look at what's over there?
I see a black leather case.
Oh, this is an interesting piece. This thing only weighs probably 50 pounds or better. says Formoco on the front of it, Ford Motor Company Genuine Parts. And this is a standard parts catalog that a salesman went around to the dealers in the 40s, 50s, 30s, and sold them nuts and bolts. And this is what he had to sell. All of these nuts and bolts, which is 3 layers thick back through here. And they got the part numbers on them and everything. You know, I need a box of these, and 2 boxes of those, and a box of those, and that type of thing. So that I've only known of 3 of these out there. And I don't think any of them are in that condition. The standard parts from somewhere, you know, because they were special nuts and bolts. This is a second room of memorabilia. There's all the different counter benches and so forth that are duplicates of what we had over in the original building over there. This is a collection of tapes. They're 8-track, they're stereo, they're everything from what was done in the tape business as it went up through the years. A lot of these, when you bought the car, you got it. This is an '84 version here, but when you got the car, you got this test tape in it. Well, nobody used the test tape, and the guys at the dealerships, you know, they probably confiscated most of them or whatever. But you know, it's that's what it is. These tapes are got to be better than what you can get because it was strictly the finest because they were selling radios in your cars, you know, with tape decks. Then they would have a party every year for the parts and service people to award them things. And one of the things was a set of TV trays, which is, you know, it's kind of a laugh. But, and I'm sure if you're watching, you've seen some of these in flea markets and dumps and who knows where. But that piece is 100% with the box and the whole bit. I had a fellow call me on the phone and said he had this, he wanted to sell me, and I sort of like when I bought the building guy. And I said, unless that thing is absolutely 100%, I don't want to fool with it. He said, mister, I've got to tell you, it's 100% box and all. I said, okay, I'll take it. Because I knew he was lying, but it had to be close, you know? But it wasn't. It's 1961 300, 500 Club Salesman Awards, I think is what it was, for selling cars. And these are shadow boxes from the 60s that the dealers hung on the walls that they got. This is a religious picture here, and this is Henry Ford and Henry Jr. And he's talking about giving 10% of your wheat, corn, whatever it is, to the church. And he's explaining how important it is to tithe and do your 10% with your church. This is the first dealer that I called on when I went out in the field. I was with Ford from 67 to 80. And back in the early or the late 60s, Elkhorn Motors in Keystone, West Virginia. And the sun never shined on this dealership because it was between the mountains. and they went out of business and they sold the dealership, and I was there for the auction, and there was a door that said parts. And when they came to it, you got everything behind the door. Whatever's behind door number 1, you got. And I bid on it, and I got it. You open it up, and it's just bins and bins and bins of parts. And it was like, what am I going to do now? You know. So I called John Greenleaf, the fellow who started Green Sales Company, and he says, go to the bank. They'll help you. They'll tell you who to get and what to do. I went to the bank, and they said, yeah, we got guys that'll do that. So you order a semi, and these guys put it in a truck. You get another semi, and these guys put it in a truck. And when it's done, you leave and come on home. So it was an interesting situation. That was, oh geez, that's back in the late '60s.
Yeah. Okay. What is this? What is that? A bread tray? What is that?
Well, this is the evolution of a Ford parts department. You had a pad of paper that you wrote down the part numbers on that you needed, and you sent that in, and they hopefully they could read your writing, but you know, it went from that to these assorted postcards, and you wrote the numbers down on the cards, and you kept track of how many you sold and so on and so forth. Then they sort of got automated, and you had your stock order pad, and you went through here and marked off what you wanted and ripped this week's paper off and sent it in. And then it got better than that, and then it got better than that, and then it went to this system over here, which was the first computer type thing, and people would type in the numbers that they needed and hit the button, and it would transfer over a telephone line, and that's the way they got their parts. And these are the price books that they used in looking up the prices, and everything else is history, because now it's all totally automated. And you know. This is all a part of our government at work. This was an original piece, I guess, that they put in, and it is what it is. The door's that thick, and it's like a 5-digit spin the wheel to win, and I don't know what they had in there. This is the last room of the warehouse. Go ahead. We're going to go through. This room used to be a freezer room when the building was used for a grocery company. But we just sorted them down by sizes. These are the ones that didn't fit in our regular size. Those are the ones that are rubber moldings that go all the way around the room so they don't get all gnarly and so forth. And then the other bigger boxes are wheel opening molding boxes, and they go all the way around the room across the top and so forth. So this whole room is nothing but moldings.
It's amazing.
That's about it.
Absolutely amazing.
This is a dock door that we brought this 76 T-Bird in. It belonged to a couple that were both teachers in the Cincinnati public school system. They came from a town just at the Tennessee and Kentucky border, and every weekend they drove it home and drove it back, and I think there's, I don't know, 175,000 miles on it, but it's about as good as you're ever going to get, and it's been sitting in here since '93, so I don't think it's going to get any worse for wear.
Do you have any other vintage vehicles?
Yeah, there's a few back in the garage that they're really not vintage. There's a Lincoln Cartier stretch limo that my wife drove for 10 years and never put a scratch on it. There's a '70 Pinto that's pretty much original, and we put a Lincoln hood and a Lincoln deck lid, both fiberglass, and made it look like a Pinto Lincoln. It's back there and it looks cool, and when we want to change it back, we still got the original hood and deck lid to put it back together. Then there's a station wagon that I take out in December and put the Christmas tree on top. And right, that's pretty much it. You've been around. Help yourself to the candy machine.
Well, sir, I thank you very much.
You're
it was
welcome.
A very interesting tour.
Enjoyed your trip.
And all the best to you on
Thank you.
on your business.
Thank you.
Thanks again.
Thank you for your business.
Thank you.
Okay. I think you only need one of those on.